Joined now in studio by Swipa. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate all the love, everybody. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on all of our videos in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. On this episode, we're going to talk James Harden. He was just traded, and this is finally the end. It's finally the genesis of this new era for James Harden, a fourth team that we can really talk about him kind of pushing himself to. What are your initial takeaways of the trade, Swipa?
Well, first off, I have been lobbying for this trade for months. I don't know about y'all, but I think James Harden is a good player to have on your roster. I think he raises the floor of the Clippers. This is a package. So Adrian Wojnarowski puts this out. Basically, the Sixers are acquiring Marcus Morris, Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, and a pick spot for Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philippe. So here's the thing. I think that if you give Kawhi Leonard the best playmaker he's ever played with, who's still at the apex of his powers, he's not like, Houston James Harden, but he's still a great version of himself. A 21-11 player and 61 true shooting. Again, you look at the NBA history, the last person to do that was Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
to have those kind of numbers. So
tremendous.
Very good playmaker. He turned Joel Embiid into maybe the best pick and roll big in a regular season setting in the NBA. And so I think that if you just look at what James Harden can do next to Kawhi, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Bones Highland, they still got Norman Powell. They still kept Terrence Mann, Ivica Zubac, Mason Plumlee. That's a nice roster. And I think Tyronn Lue can figure out a way to make this work. Now, I don't think, which I know they're going to try, I don't think they should play Russell Westbrook and Harden and start them together. But they will.
Probably.
Maybe in the playoffs they change that. I don't think that's going to work out too well. But again, I think for what the Clippers are doing, they're buying all in for one season. Kawhi, no guaranteed money after this year. PG, no guaranteed money after this year. Harden, no guaranteed money after this year. Westbrook, no guaranteed money after this year.
So clean slate.
So if you're going to give it a shot and you're going to go all in and say, we want to give you the best roster possible and a player, honestly, that'll play in a regular season, I think this is the best bet they have.
Yeah, there's no question about the talent, right? There's no question about what this is going to turn into from a talent perspective. You've got the one of the most talented rosters in the entire league, and it might have peaked in 2014, if we're being honest. Like that I think is the sentiment shared around the NBA, that might be the last hurrah for a lot of these guys. And I'd be a little bit curious as to whether they could do all the detail things that you need in order to win a championship, whether it's guarding your man, defending, rotating, shooting, and spacing the floor for other people and not just for yourself. Like there's a lot of questions that I have about the Clippers and kind of the structure in the playoffs. But in the regular season, you're right. Like this team should win 50 games. They should be very good throughout the year. Harden should prop them up over the course of this time. But I mean, they are the Los Angeles on papers, man. Like that's like kind of the same story in Brooklyn. It's the same story for James Harden. Like it is all about the on paper. You could share the stats, 21-11, 61% true shooting. You can share all those numbers and that's fine. But like when that goes away and you're punched in the mouth a little bit, he just has never responded and the Clippers have never responded.
Yeah. So this is the thing. I think that when you have teams like this, two people have to sacrifice. I think that this should be stated very clearly from the top down that from Steve Ballmer, Lawrence Frank, Tyronn Lue, this is Kawhi Leonard's team.
Sure.
And everything we do is about lifting up Kawhi Leonard, making sure he has what he needs in the playoff setting. Because last year, again, I said this last year, I think it's true now. I will tell you this, Ryan. If you tell me this team is healthy, at least 3 of those 4 players are available. Harden, PG, and Russ, or Kawhi, Harden, Russ, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that this team could beat the Suns. I think this team could beat the Lakers currently constructed. I think that the Lakers have shown they have a lack of size on the perimeter, a lack of athleticism on the perimeter. The shooting has been horrendous from Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell. I also don't trust that any of those dudes are going to defend at a high level. Now you got Vando and Rui and all that. But again, James Harden, Russ, Kawhi, PG, they can take advantage of those matchups. Now, Anthony Davis is going to be a problem. But guess what? Harden, good pull-up shooter. Kawhi, very good pull-up shooter. PG, very good pull-up shooter. So you put all that together, plus the fact they can get to the rim, and you can – again, this is what's so fun about it. You can stagger Russ and PG.
You can do that.
Stagger Harden and Kawhi.
You could do that too.
So I'm saying, like, even if it's not going to maybe win them a championship, they're a way better position to be able to do that than they were prior to this move.
I also think that PJ Tucker, a good acquisition for them, where
really good.
You talk about an Anthony Davis matchup, and I know that PJ Tucker is going to be extremely physical with him. He's going to get into him a little bit. And yeah, could Anthony Davis dominate in a situation like that? Sure. But the Clippers are also a team that is perfectly well suited to switch all of those matchups as best as they can and make life very difficult for Anthony Davis in the post even. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that particular matchup plays out. But whether it's the Suns or the Clippers or the Lakers, I still don't see any of these teams really touching the Nuggets. That's one of the teams that you obviously didn't mention when it comes to, can the Clippers really compete in that kind of situation? I think that the Nuggets are obviously a tier above. I'm not sure whether this gets them any closer in a Nuggets specific matchup.
Well, I see they would need, like, instead of Harden, like Embiid, I think would be like the idea of what Embiid would be, rather. I think the issue is that they don't have the size. They're still going to be smaller than the Nuggets. They're not more athletic than the Nuggets, and they're not younger than the Nuggets.
Yeah.
And they're not a better shooting team than the Nuggets. And the Nuggets have a bunch of wings. That's the other part of the reason why they give LeBron so many issues, because it's Kawhi, PG, and some other wings on the roster to throw LeBron. Well, again, the Nuggets, Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, Zeke Naji. They just have so much length, plus Jamal, plus Joker. You just put all that together, man. I just think they can just guard them 1 through 5. And again, if you don't have a center that truly makes Joker work in a playoff setting offensively, then you're kind of cooked.
Yeah.
Because if you're telling me that I don't really have to worry about you offensively except for being a play finisher at the rim, look, I'm playing off of you. We're clogging up the paint. You can do whatever you want to do. And so I think that is a matchup I don't see them overcoming if everyone is healthy. But at the same time, I do think they'll still make it a very compelling series because I respect Kawhi Leonard that much. And I also love this. And the reason I think they could probably beat the Lakers at this juncture, right now, you can give Kawhi more rest in a playoff setting and more opportunity to flourish offensively than you can give LeBron.
True.
Because you ain't giving the ball to D'Lo and Reeves and Gabe Vincent.
Not with the way that they've played so far.
Right. And chilling out. Now, Harden, PG, Russ, heck yeah. Even Bones on a possession-by-possession basis.
Yeah, I can get there with
Norman
PG
Powell
and Kawhi. Norman Powell will definitely get there. Like, though they have more consistent veteran options to kind of share the load a bit. But you talk about it being Kawhi's team. You talk about it I'm not sure you want a team to be Kawhi's team. So there is something to having somebody in the regular season who can kind of steer the ship a little bit. And I do think the Harden can do that for sure for this group, especially in the regular season. We will find out whether they can make that work. But I am curious now. Let's talk about the Sixers. Let's talk about the Sixers side of things. They trade away James Harden. They get rid of the headache that had really sustained them. And they get back Nick Batum, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, and multiple first-round picks. Got a couple second-round picks here or there too. So I'm curious, is this the final step for the Sixers? What are they going to try to do this year?
Yeah, I think they should be all in on Zach LaVine. I don't think that gives them a championship. I don't even think that gets them out of the East.
Yeah.
But I think that gives them the best option. I don't think Pascal Siakam – well, I'll say this. If you're telling me it's going to be Tobias Harris is shipped out, Pascal, Maxey, Melton, Embiid, and then whatever, yeah, that's a pretty good team.
It's a good team.
I don't think they're beating Boston. I wouldn't even say I think they're beating the Bucks. But if you're saying you get Zach LaVine, so that's Tyrese Maxey, Zach LaVine, Melton, Tobias Harris, and then, again, Embiid. I just think that they are limited in who they can acquire, but I think them still getting one of those players makes them much better, and it gives them better hope versus some upper echelon teams. But guess what? Pascal Siakam has sank in playoff series before too, and Zach LaVine definitely has. So, and then you have also Embiid, who has plenty of opportunities to sink in playoff setting.
Right.
And you've never seen Tyreek be the dominant Tyrese Maxey be the dominant ball handler in the playoff setting either. So a lot of questions to be asked. I still think that they came up because they can make further additional moves. But if they just have it as is, and you're saying you're giving him Marcus Morris, Batum, Covington, and KJ Martin, then yeah, this is a sunk cost.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether they could flip those guys around. It's no wonder that a guy like Zach LaVine is I think what everybody's pining for. They do need that extra ball handler. They do need that extra creator, especially off the dribble, because you don't want Embiid to be isolating and posting up 20 times a game in the playoffs. You'd rather him, I think, be in a consistent position where he's in an advantage, or somebody else can help generate an advantage for him, like Harden was doing, especially in the regular season. So maybe Maxey develops into that a little bit more. It's going to he's still early on in his development, so he might take a leap similar to maybe what Jamal Murray did in the bubble. Like there's at least a possibility there. I wouldn't bet on it, and I think that's why the Sixers are really going for this idea of either a trade or then a free agency acquisition in the summer, whether that be an OG Anunoby or a Pascal Siakam or a DeMar DeRozan or somebody like that. They're going to go and try to get that third star.
Right. You think they wait till summer?
I don't think they're going to try to wait. I think they're going to try to flip these guys and try to get the best possible player that they can.
You can't do that next year.
Yeah, no, with all the expiring contracts and the CBA ramifications that they have, also Tyrese Maxey's cap hold, it then becomes an actual contract. Like there are questions. This is the gap. Like it is either trade deadline or summer. Right. That's the only two options that they have. And if they fail or at least don't succeed on either of those options, then I see Embiid walking out that door.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation in Philly. I can't say they didn't bring it on themselves. They signed up for all this, so this is what they wanted. Now they're going to try to rebuild around it. But I think for the Clippers, I think this puts them in the best situation to win a championship they probably have ever had.
We will see what happens. I think that they had a great shot in the bubble year, but then they ran into a better team. And that's just kind of what happens. They ran into a better team, ran into a better player. And sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. But we will see whether they can actually figure that out this upcoming season. But I think that's going to do it on this particular episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure to comment down below whether you think the Clippers or the Sixers won this deal. And we will talk to you guys very shortly.